All right, today we're going to dive into a really critical shift in how businesses are handling payments. We're going to look at source technologies, RPA, and we're going to focus on one single powerful idea: keeping payment control inside your ERP. You know, your enterprise resource planning system. It's the financial heart of your company. We're going to unpack what that actually means and why it's become so incredibly important right now. You know this quote, it just gets right to the heart of the matter. It completely reframes how we should be thinking about financial risk. The game has totally changed. We're not talking about guys with masks and physical bank vaults anymore. Nope. The real action and the real danger is happening inside our digital payment workflows. And that really begs the question, doesn't it? If your accounts payable department is the new bank vault, then your biggest threats probably aren't coming from the outside. They're much quieter. They could be hiding inside the very processes your team uses every single day. Okay, so let's call this what it is: the modern version of a bank robbery. And if you want to protect yourself against it, you first have to understand how these heists are actually pulled off. So how do these things actually work? Well, it's less about high-tech hacking and way more about human psychology. Fraudsters are experts at creating a false sense of urgency, of exploiting our natural respect for authority. Just imagine getting an email that looks exactly like it's from your CEO. Maybe there's even a follow-up call with a cloned voice demanding an immediate wire transfer to a new vendor. The tools are getting scary sophisticated, but the goal, it's always the same: pressure a good, hard-working employee into bypassing your secure process just this one time. So where is that weak link in the chain? Where is that bypass most likely to happen? Well, more often than not, it's when we push our workflows outside of our core system. And that introduces a massive weak point: the risk of using external payment portals. And this right here, this really gets to the core of the problem. Look, companies often use external portals for perfectly good reasons. Maybe a vendor prefers it, or it has some fancy feature, but there's always a security trade-off. Inside your ERP, everything is connected. It is your single source of truth where all your security rules, all your controls are enforced. But the second a payment process moves to an external portal, all of that shatters. Suddenly your audit trail is fragmented, new security holes pop up, and the very controls you spent years building can be completely sidestepped. So if moving outside the ERP creates the risk, while the solution seems pretty obvious, right? You have to stay inside it. And that is how we lock down payments using what we call an ERP native solution. The best way to think about this is securing the last mile of your payment process. By keeping the entire workflow from approval all the way to execution inside your ERP, you make sure your security controls are never ever compromised, especially right at that critical moment just before the money actually leaves your business. Now, this whole ERP native approach is really built on 4 key pillars that make it fundamentally different from other payment solutions out there. So let's break down exactly what they are. Okay, let's walk through each of these 4 keys to control. First up, the absolute foundation of this whole system. What does it actually mean to be truly ERP embedded? It's really as simple as it sounds. There is no separate system to manage, no new portal to log into, no new interface for your team to learn. The tool works right within the screens and the security model you already have and trust. And this is a huge deal because it means your established rules like segregation of duties, they all stay perfectly intact and your audit trail is never broken. Everything happens in one place, your central system of record. Okay, the second key is all about putting you back in the driver's seat. We're talking about flexible execution, which gives you the freedom to choose how and where your payments get processed. And this table makes it super clear you are not locked into a single provider for everything. You can intelligently route different payments to optimize your costs or your rebates. So for example, you might say, okay, we'll print checks ourselves, but we're going to send our ACH payments through provider A, and then we'll process our virtual cards with provider B to get the best rebates. This kind of flexibility ensures your payment strategy serves your business needs, not some third-party vendors. All right, key number 3, this one is huge, and it brings us right back to security. It's about adding powerful smart controls at that absolutely critical moment of payment execution. Now, the star of the show here is the real-time OFAC check. OFAC, that's the Office of Foreign Assets Control. Basically, it's the government's official sanctions list. Now, typically this is something you might check once when you first set up a vendor, and that's it. This system does it completely differently. It runs a new verification for every single payment right at the moment it's about to be sent. This ensures no prohibited payments can ever slip through the cracks. And the result is so simple, but it is incredibly powerful. If a vendor suddenly shows up on that sanctions list, the payment is automatically stopped. It's not just flagged for review later, it's halted dead in its tracks before a single dollar leaves your account. That is what true proactive defense looks like. And that brings us to our 4th and final key. This is one of those practical in-the-trenches details that makes a massive difference in the real world. We're talking about remittance flexibility. This is all about giving your vendors exactly what they need without creating more work for your team. So for a simple payment, sure, the system can auto-generate and send a standard remittance advice. But what about that big vendor who needs a super complex multi-page report to reconcile their books? No problem, you get the best of both worlds. The payment gets processed efficiently through the system, but your ERP generates and sends that beautiful detailed report directly. It's efficiency for you and total clarity for them. So, when you pull all four of those keys together, what's the real-world difference? Let's just summarize why this whole ERP native approach really, truly matters. It really all boils down to this. You regain total control by pulling your entire payment process back inside the safety of your core system. You gain the flexibility to pick and choose the right payment partners for the right job so you can optimize every single dollar. You get proactive security that actually stops threats before money can walk out the door. And you do it all with more efficiency, without ever having to compromise. Clear, professional communication with your vendors. So if gaining this level of control and flexibility is a priority for you, the next step is actually pretty simple. We can schedule a brief workflow, walkthrough, or we can map this entire process out using your company's actual payment data. It's the fastest way to build a real ROI estimate and see exactly what this could mean for your business.